If you're spending good money on a dialer, or any tool for that matter, that tool had better increase the effectiveness of the people using it. I mean, you wouldn't buy a shovel if it didn't help you dig a hole better than using your hands, right? Like, it needs to be more effective than the status quo. What should a sales manager look for in a dialer? Well, really, I'd argue two things. They need a dialer that makes your team more effective or efficient, and you need a dialer that records and reports on that increase in effectiveness or efficiency. And that's really important because you're reporting up to somebody, and that somebody is going to want to make sure that this increase that you say you've done in efficacy actually shows up somewhere. So let's break this down. Let's tackle the first part, which is the most important part. If you're spending good money on a dialer, or any tool for that matter, that tool had better increase the effectiveness of the people using it. I mean, you wouldn't buy a shovel if it didn't help you dig a hole better than using your hands, right? Like, it needs to be more effective than the status quo. So to that end, you don't just want a dialer that lets you make calls. Like, you can make calls right now with a cell phone. You want a dialer that helps you make calls faster. You want a dialer that helps you make calls that don't show up as spam. You want a dialer that helps you make calls where those calls are automatically tracked somewhere, probably in your CRM. You want a dialer that helps you make calls, and if the person doesn't pick up that call, maybe it's leaving a voicemail automatically, right? So I would call all of those advanced sales functionality. Now you're going from the realm of just a dialer to like a sales engagement platform. There you're going from a dialer that just is like a voice phone that exists on your computer to one that really has a bunch of tools that you would never find on a cell phone or on a basic dialer. Let's explore some of the more important ones. If your reps are making a single call at a time, then anybody who has a dialer that lets you make 5 or 10 calls at that same time is going to dust your reps. So that's the first thing you want. You want a dialer that is letting you utilize multiple lines. So it would be called a multi-line dialer. You probably heard that phrase before. You want a multi-line dialer that lets your reps make more than one call at a time, because let's face it, connection rates are at an all-time low. If you load up 10 dials and you get one connection out of that, that's fantastic these days. So if you can dial 10 at a time and get one each time, now you're really working. Now you're cooking with fire. So that's the first thing, multiple lines. Second thing, probably spam. Right now, your calls have an incredibly high percentage chance of showing up as spam. It's as high as 40% right now across the 4 major mobile carriers. You need a dialer that protects you from that. And the best way to protect you from that is to provide local numbers, because local numbers have a higher pickup rate, that don't show as spam. So some method of checking them against the mobile carriers to ensure they're not showing up as spam, and preferably that rotate. Because even if you have a number that doesn't show as spam, but you're using that same number every time you call, well, guess what? That number is going to be marked as spam shortly. And once it's marked as spam by one person, it's going to show up as suspected spam to other people. And it's going to just be a snowball down till your number never gets answered. Okay, so you need number rotation, you need local presence, you need spam prevention, you need all that stuff, along with a multi-line dialer. But that's not all. I mean, are people only calling these days? No, they're texting too, right? So that phone system needs to be able to text too. I'd consider that kind of table stakes at this point. You also, and this is going a little bit further, would love a dialer that can do some of this stuff automatically. So if you're making manual calls, then wouldn't it be great if you can automatically send the text, right? With a single click. I call that stuff automation. Because these days, if you're adopting technology, you are adopting automation as well. And those who don't, again, are going to get whomped on by the people who do. So you want a dialer that prevents spam, your number showing up as spam. It does that by a number of ways. You want a dialer that's multi-line dialing. You want a dialer that automatically allows you to send text messages through automation, not through manually doing it. And one more thing, people aren't answering the phone. What do you want to do with those people? Not nothing. You'd love to send a text. I'd also love to drop a voicemail on it, like a pre-recorded voicemail. So it needs to do all of those things. And that's just the first half of what you need to look for in a dialer, having those sales features. There's a whole second half, which is how well are those sales features working for you? I mean, it might show up in the final numbers. In fact, it probably will. You're going to be driving more revenue, closing more sales. But my guess is that whoever's in charge over there is going to want some more detail than that. Why are we closing more sales? And you can't just say because of this dialer. You have to be able to say what your reps are actually doing with that dialer to close more sales. And the last thing I want you to have to do is go into a dialer and kind of try and poke and prod around to figure out what's going on, what's working well, what's not working well. I mean, that's not a good use of your time as a sales manager. What is a good use of your time is finding a dialer that tracks that stuff automatically in whatever CRM you have. So let's talk about the second half. What does this look like? The tracking and recording of the increase in effectiveness. Well, first things first, you probably have a central source of truth that isn't the dialer. I mean, I hope you do, because the dialer is a bad place to be leaning on for your central source of truth. A good place, a CRM. A medium place, Google Sheets. So whatever you want a dialer that integrates with that Google Sheet or preferably with those CRMs. But that's tricky. Now you're like, what does integration even mean? Like, 'cause some dialers say they integrate, but they really just have like a little phone icon by each phone number in the CRM. That's not real integration. At a basic level for what we're talking about today, integration needs to mean automatic tracking, recording of every call and text message, along with how those calls went, positive outcome, negative outcome, and whether the deal moved forward because of those calls. That's what you need. So you want a dialer that automatically integrates, meaning like a native integration with the platforms you're using, CRM or Google Sheets. And at the very least, it needs to be able to do custom integrations with new platforms you add in the future. Because what's gonna happen, technology sprawls. Right now it's Google Sheets, tomorrow it's HubSpot or Salesforce, and the day after that, it's HubSpot or Salesforce, plus a data warehouse and a chat interface and some CS tool that helps track customer satisfaction over time. You want a dialer that can try and integrate and push this data to all of those platforms. So nimble integration and hopefully native integration, the two ends, nimble and native. The other thing you want to make sure those calls are automatically tracking and recording along with the text. And I don't just mean that the call happened. I want the actual call recording embedded in that CRM or Google Sheet so that you can refer back to it at any time, because that also lets you run through conversational intelligence. Now, optimally, the phone platform has its own conversational intelligence, which is really just a fancy way of saying it transcribes the call and does analysis on it. Like, was it a good call? Were your reps using good tone, bad tone, that kind of thing? That's really what that means, but it's a fancy way of saying it. And you want to make sure that conversational intelligence tool either integrates with the dialer or the dialer has it automatically, and all of that is pushing into the CRM, because now you got it all. Now you know that the call happened, you know how good the call was, you know whether the call made the deal move forward, because the CRM is going to have the deal progression data in it, and you have the transcript of the call and the summary of the call, so that if a manager needs to review it for any reason, or a customer balks or says they didn't say something that they did, you can always refer right back to it. That's important, by the way, because in other videos where we talk about call coaching, I'm going to reference conversational intelligence and transcription, because you're going to want to be able to do coaching at scale. And that means transcribing and analyzing your calls through technology, not through just pen and paper or listening to a call, every single call your reps are making. That's not scalable. So let's combine these two things for a second. First and foremost, you need a dialer that makes your reps more efficient than just using a cell phone. What does that mean? Again, let's cover it again. It means multi-line dialing. It means dropping automatic voicemails. It means automation, hopefully of text messages. And it means preventing your phone number from showing up as spam by covering it, by using a local area code number, by making sure that that local area code number rotates so even it doesn't get ruined, and by making sure that it's checking that local number across all 4 major mobile carriers on a regular basis to make sure it doesn't show as spam. But that's not all. Like, beyond just making your reps more efficient, we need to track the fact that it's made your reps more efficient so you can look good to your boss. So what does that entail? That entails a native integration with your CRM or a nimble ability to custom integrate with any other platform you might have, and preferably both, because that's the best. It needs to transcribe those calls through conversational intelligence or integrate with a third-party platform that transcribes those calls for conversation intelligence. And it needs to be able to report back on those analytics. That way, it's pushing all of this to metrics. You don't have to spend your time in Google Sheets trying to come up with metrics and present that to your manager. Because I know, trust me, from someone who was in sales as an IC and then migrated up to management, managing Google Sheets was not a skill that got me to where I was initially. Like, it was not. So the less time I can spend in a Google Sheet, the better, and I'm sure you feel the same way. So it needs to do all of those things combined to make it a really effective dialer. And I'll tell you what, spoiler alert, Kixie does all of those things. So if you are interested in a dialer that is perfect for sales leadership and sales management, it's a dialer like Kixie that provides all of these features natively, automatically. And if you decide you want to go with another dialer, great. Just make sure to tick off those 2 boxes, that they both make your reps more efficient and make them describe how, and make sure it checks off all those boxes, and that it records and reports on that increase in efficiency so that you can look good to your manager without having to spend more of your day in a Google Sheet. If you love this video and you love geeking out on topics just like this, please like and subscribe below, where you'll find a whole bunch of other videos for making sales managers like you more efficient with a platform like Kixie. Thank you so much.